Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing VHS 85. Of course, the long-running VHS found footage series started originally, I believe, by the guys who started like the Bloody Disgusting production company. I don't know if I saw their thing before this, did I?
Back when it was called Beta.
No, but their title card was on this movie.
Was it? Okay, yeah. So they're still making. Fun fact, John. I got a little shout out to the people at Shudder here. If you just type the letters VHS into Shudder without the stupid slashes, guess what happens? The
It's real
movie
bad.
doesn't come up.
You ain't watching
bad.
shit.
Damn thing.
Yeah.
That drives me insane.
Well, it's ridiculous, just to be clear. Yeah.
IMDb's the same way.
Get
I
it
have a lot of
together.
slash resentment.
But if you put it into Google, the IMDb page comes up, obviously, because Google
Put it into
understands.
90.
Well, I just mean like I searched and the Wikipedia page comes up.
That's how my aunt used the internet for like 30 years.
Yeah. Well,
Just opened up to Yahoo and just typed in whatever she was looking for.
Ask Jeeves. Can
Exactly.
you find VHS 85 for me?
Yep.
I didn't even intro anybody, I don't think. First up, joining me
No.
tonight from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
Next up from the, I was going to say sunny Bay Area, but it's not always sunny, right?
Not today. It's
Cloudy
bleak.
Bay Area.
Yeah. it's
Please
gray
welcome
today.
Rachel to the show.
Hello.
And last up tonight from Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John to the show.
hello, Eric.
Rachel, this is a new angle. I've never seen this psychotic Chucky doll encased in glass behind you.
Yes. Well, I mean, they've
pretty
been living in
wild.
boxes down here, and I finally got a case.
You know what? If you're going to have that in your home, it's probably safest to have it encased in glass. You know
I
what
will
mean?
say the downside of it is it defeats background blur. So during an interview today,
That's horrifying.
Tiffany and Chucky's faces just kept coming into the corner of my screen, and I was like trying to slowly.
You don't
turn.
have like a real dry like office job though, so like it's probably okay.
No, I mean we were talking about like anti-trans hate legislation, so there was that.
Cool.
There are a few more pro-trans series than
That is
Child's
true.
Play.
See, I was really just saying I'm an ally.
See,
I'm an
Exactly.
Then Child's Play? Is that are you actually?
You've
I'm like,
never
wait,
seen
was
like
there
the
a-
sequels or the show or like
Seed of Chucky.
the
Oh,
later
all right, okay.
sequels. Yeah, their son. It was a whole thing for their child.
That's a pretty big part of the TV show, too.
yeah.
I've not seen the show, but I had
The show is
I think I saw Seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people like the show.
Well, there you go. The seed is by.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
Can
some
I
of that
just say
show.
the show is great because we've seen Devon Sawa play 4 different characters so far in 3 seasons.
Oh really?
Yes, the Sawa
caught her-
Sans has begun.
I've caught a few episodes of that show. It is much better than it has any right to be.
Oh, yeah.
My feelings exactly.
Right.
Well, all right. I have so many questions
What?
about the show and how it
Go ahead.
functions, but no, it's fine. We're not here to talk about the show. Let's continue.
I don't care, John.
good.
This is
Well, here's the thing. Narratively, is like every episode Chucky's like attacking someone? Is it basically
no. It's like a
shorter
fully
version?
set up story where like he's just shown up in this whole world inhabited by people and characters, like almost like a. I mean, what would you liken it to, Rachel? Like
And there's an
American
overarching
Horror
story.
American Horror Story, kind of like set of characters that he just happened. I don't even know. I don't even remember. But like, he's
Well,
just
there's a
there.
new set of characters that have been added to it, but then it pulls in all the characters from the movies. Like Andy
Yeah.
shows up.
Oh, that's cool.
Like essentially, if you can think of a character that lived in the movies, they show up, or sometimes they show up. The characters show up as new characters, but yeah,
And Jennifer
it's like-
Tilly's in the show, too.
Yep. And Jennifer Tilly, and then also Brad Dourif's daughter, who
Yeah.
She was in one of the movies. Was it like a reboot
in the
or I can't
last
remember.
two.
Yeah, and she's playing the same character at the start,
Yeah.
right?
But she also plays
Yeah.
what's his name? I can't think of his name. The person who becomes Chuck, Charles Lee Ray, like in flashbacks, in like prosthetics. So that's her. It's very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
She does a lot of
I
making out
zoned
with
out.
Jennifer Tilly.
Fiona Dorff, right?
Fiona Dorff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So she
yeah.
in prosthetics plays Charles Lee Ray in flashbacks.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Does she do the voice, or do they voice
They
actor?
dub in his voice.
How creepy.
It
That'd be
is
so
it's
weird.
super weird.
We were just talking about weird parent issues before the show, Rachel. This is related. All right.
Full circle.
We're done. Let's do it. Let's talk VHS 85.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
VHS is one of those kind of things, John, where like I mean, the last couple have been real shitty anyway, but I never know what kind of mileage you specifically are going to get out of them because you're such an enigma to me,
Well,
John.
I like to keep you guessing. I was just looking at the franchise page on Wikipedia. I know I saw the first two. I don't know that
VHS Viral, I believe, was the third one, and we
Yeah.
did do that on the show. I don't know if you maybe were
Yeah,
out,
but I
we
might
did
not have
do
been
it.
on that.
But like, I'm thinking about. I remember where I lived, and that would have been like 2013 at the latest. So you're talking a decade ago.
No, it looks like I was on that episode according to our episode guide. So
And then I don't remember
well.
after that. And then the last couple of years, they started doing these ones that had years on them.
I'm very curious what the point of the year is. I mean, we can get into it as we're reviewing this,
I
but
think
I hadn't
probably
seen. I don't
just
think I've seen
get
any
away
of the-
from like subtitles and number, like sequel numbers. It would be my guess.
Yeah, I just assumed it sets a theme.
Right, and then
VHS
it gives all the filmmakers a theme then to work within.
Well, but as a format, VHS really was only dominant for what, like?
Yeah, you've
20-year
got
period?
20.
Like-
You got let's say generously. I remember really like I bought my first DVD in like maybe 1999, and I was probably
Yeah,
an early
or
adopter.
like 2001, they were pretty
Yeah.
prevalent. So when was VHS? Like 84? Like, is this the launch of VHS, or when did it, as a format? That's a Casey question.
Probably
who's,
just
you know,
before this,
most-
probably early 80s, I would guess.
Yeah, we can look that up, but I'm not going to right now.
He's not
Casey,
listening.
when did VHS come out? When did you get your first VHS? Like the actual format?
I don't remember exactly because we used to rent them from the library.
Oh, I was gonna say
I've rented them from the
originally
library.
too. People would rent the players.
Yeah, that's what we used to get.
Which is
Because when
crazy.
I had a birthday party or a slumber party, Mom would take me to the library. We check out VCR, pick out a couple movies. That was the slumber
Man,
party.
that's adorable. You just leave the VCR with the biggest armload of like really heavy electronics.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay,
All right.
so it looks like 1976, according to
Oh,
Wikipedia.
so you probably
According to Ask Jeeves.
tack a few years on there, right, before it becomes like more.
Yeah.
You start.
So
to
it really
become
was 20
ubiquitous.
years. It was like
Yeah.
late 70s to late 90s, more or less.
Yeah. You nailed it, John. You were right again. Congratulations.
Well, I usually am.
All right. Please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is chrysalis. Chrysalis.
Pretty sweet NES game.
Yeah, I think it was spelled different. It's spelled Chrysalis. Chrysalis. I know, I remember that game now, but
Yeah, I think it's ISAL. Yeah.
yeah. A quiescent insect pupa, especially
Ooh.
of a butterfly or moth. The hard outer case enclosing a chrysalis. I don't know. It's always ridiculous to me when they use the word in the definition, whatever. And then the last one, more generically, a transitional state.
Oh.
Comes
Can
to us-
you? Oh, go ahead.
Well, it comes to us from the Greek word, which means gold. The word is kursos.
Gold?
Krusos.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
gold. Because that was the color of the chrysalis.
Can you very briefly tell me what that has to do with this movie?
Yeah, so the frame. This movie, and again, I'm curious if they did this in the 94, 99 editions. There's not like a frame story, at least the way I remember the frame story from VHS 1 and 2. Here, it's just like there's a VHS playing, and there is an overarching story that's kind of happening while these other things are being interspersed. And it's basically an unsolved mysteries sort of knockoff. What was the one with Leonard Nimoy?
In search of.
In search of.
But it does feel very unsolved mysteries.
Yeah, it's like that sort of thing. They're doing a segment about a university sort of science place where I think it's an alien. They basically have an extraterrestrial, or where did they I'm sure they said where they found it, but it was some sort of
It's like it was like on a mountain or something.
okay. It's a creature. They're trying to communicate with
Rory.
it. It's a Rory, yes. And Rory throughout, so like this is happening in between some there's I guess 4 other segments that are happening, and this 5th overarching one is happening throughout, and Rory goes through a period where he's humanoid looking, although they kind of have him in shadow, and then he goes into a pupa like state.
Pupa. John, tell me about this movie other than the wraparound.
Yeah, I mean, so
Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
yes.
I'm not letting Rachel off. Rachel, tell me what happened in 1985. You said you looked it up.
Oh, I mean, I was just curious to see like what things.
This
like
day in America. I was
Well, I
3 years
mean-
old. Casey was
Okay.
15.
No, I was 11.
Just
Thank
kidding. Oh, all right, I wasn't that far off.
you. Yeah, you weren't far.
Casey
Well, it
was,
was-
45.
He was a full-grown man with a beard and on his second
Friday the
marriage.
13th, part 5 came out that year.
Okay.
Ronald Reagan, the true horror story, began his second term that year.
It's true. Very
Gorbachev
true.
became the leader. Of,
Okay, that's a big turning point.
Yep, that's
the
a big
Soviet
one.
Union, yeah.
Obviously, there was a huge earthquake in Mexico, which may come up today. I read between 5,000 and 35,000 people died in
Damn.
that earthquake. Yeah.
Wouldn't you think they could get a little closer to the real
It
number?
felt like, I mean, this is what I mean. I went down a rabbit hole. Then I started Googling all about this damn earthquake. But yeah, I mean, it was a tumultuous year. There was like hostage crises. America was, the AIDS crisis had just kicked off. 1984 was when they had identified the virus, the end of 1984. So that was definitely a prevalent thing in 1985. It was a transitional, a chrysalis-like time for America. Which, by the way, when you said chrysalis, I was like, I watched the wrong movie. Fuck.
I love it.
So,
Little
yeah.
Rachel panic. Okay, John. Nice work, Rachel. Tell me what happens. What is VHS 85?
Yeah, I mean, so
To your
this
point,
is-
really quick. I love
Yes.
when I tossed you and then immediately interrupt you. It's my favorite.
I know, me too. It's
The
fun.
original VHS, to your point of how it was kind of framed, was like the wraparound in the original was a bunch of kids like break into an old guy's house that has a crazy VHS collection, and they just start popping them in, and it's all this like insane horror stuff like that looks real, right?
Yeah.
And I want to say there was a similar-ish kind of thing in part 2, and then after that, it's become much more hallucinatory and fluid, kind of the last couple entries.
Yeah, I mean, this
Or like in the last one, it was just a story similar to this, where it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a true wraparound of everything else, right? It's just a longer story that they like intersperse in between the
Yeah,
shorter
I
ones,
mean,
which is
one-
kind of what this is.
one way, I guess, if you were trying to like shoehorn this into an actual frame, it's like they were taping over
Yes.
this
Yes.
Yeah.
TV thing
It's got that vibe.
with like other shit going on. As with any found footage, like then you get into this question of like who was doing the taping and why are they just like random ass like people from Mexico are taping over it, but also
they're not. They're doing it in a
I
way that
know.
like you gotta just like
Totally, it's fine. It's fine.
not full of
Also,
logic.
at least one of the sections was being filmed in Betamax, I believe, because that was like a whole point. That anyway, we can come back to it. The thing I was curious about was who are the filmmakers involved, because it is an anthology film. I mean, for folks who haven't seen it, we just sort of like assume that knowledge, but it is a found footage anthology series, and so every one of these things is found footage, and it is an anthology, meaning there's like different segments. So David Bruckner is one of the directors. He also directed one of the segments in the original VHS. He directed a couple, I mean, good movies. The Ritual, which we covered. There's a movie called The Signal, which I really like, from like 2007.
Hell yeah.
He's done
Nobody's
some
seen
good
that
stuff.
movie.
I saw that in the theater actually, but
Movie is awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one. One of the other directors here, Scott Derrickson, he does I think the third segment. I was like looking at all these earlier, but he directed Sinister, Exorcism of Emily Rose, the Doctor Strange movie, and then Black Phone. I mean, got his fastball for sure. Gigi Saul Guerrero, she's the one who does the Mexico segment we'll talk about. Natasha Kermani, who directed Lucky, which I know we covered on the show. And then the final director who directs the one that's sort of like two, it's told from two different perspectives, is a director named Mike Nelson. So yeah, that's it. I don't know. I can't even there's 4 different, completely different segments. Should we just go like one by one? Do we each like want to take one of them and describe it? Like, I don't know.
I would like you to rapid fire, just give me quick what they are, and then we'll just.
Okay. First one. No. So there's the frame story is called Total Copy. Okay, we put that to the side. We already talked about that. No Wake. This is the one that's directed by Mike Nelson. It is friends go camping. They then are being attacked. However, they're swimming in a lake, which causes them to become zombies that can't die. That's it. That's the whole thing.
That's right. There's the two that
Yeah.
crossover,
So
yeah.
then you have God of Death. This is the one that's set around the Mexico City earthquake of 1985. This to me was in some ways the weirdest because the frame of it is that it's a television news camera guy / producer. He's filming the news broadcast, but then the earthquake happens, and then he picks up the camera and keeps filming while he's running in these tunnel. He's trying to escape this building, and he ends up in these tunnels. And then he meets the God of Death, which that part I liked. The last one's called, or not last one, third is called Techno God or TKNOGD. This is Natasha Kermani. This is a woman doing a one-woman show on stage. We're seeing a video production of her stage production being produced from a bunch of different angles, which is another found footage thing that I roll my eyes at because I'm just this isn't found footage now. You've just produced a movie and you're using slightly lower production value and telling us it's found footage. Whatever, we can come back to that. She is doing virtual reality and saying that God is dead, but she's gonna do this virtual reality, and then there's a techno god or that she's trying to call forth.
But then actually does.
Yeah, and then it works, and she gets pretty interestingly killed, which I enjoyed. And then Ambrosia, which is the back half of the No Wake story, or is that No Wake? So Ambrosia is now told from the opposite perspective. It's of the person who killed all of the kids who went swimming in the zombie lake. It turns out she's part of a family, and the family, when they turn 15, it's a rite of passage that everyone has to go out and kill 7 random people. I don't know, kind of weird. And whatever, crazy shit happens. We can come back. That one is the most convoluted in some ways. And then, the last one, before it kind of wraps up with the frame story, is called Dream Kill. This one is about a goth kid who is having visions of murders, and then he's filming the visions of the murders. I was getting a little confused about where the videotapes were coming from, but he sends the videotapes to the cops. The cops realize that they're murders that haven't happened yet, and then they're trying to figure it. They catch the kid, and then it turns out it's there's a genetic thing where it's his dad who's the murderer, if I'm remembering exactly what happens here. I don't know. That one also did not work great for me in a lot of ways, but that's it. And then you come back to Pupa, Chrysalis Man, Rory, who turns into an alien.
That word is starting to make me feel weird, John. I don't know.
Pupa. No, that's a fun one. So yeah, that's all of them. I don't know.
Casey.
I have not been a fan of the last couple of VHSs. I think, Eric, you said it on the show before. I think the last probably at least 2 or 3 VHSs for me has had one good short and the rest just kind of meh. And they're forgettable. I think this is one of the better VHSs I've seen in a while. And I was kind of impressed just because the stories felt more put together. The shorts more put together, not quite as experimental as what I think some of the past couple shorts in the VHS flicks have done. And I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed more of the shorts than I did not enjoy, and I did not dislike any of them. Like Techno God, I thought was kind of silly, but the effects at the end were worth the wait. So it's kind of a mixed thought on that. I really like that one. I thought the one with the earthquake and going through there's great tension going through that one, and I love the way it kind of played out there. I myself really got into the I forget the name you said, but the Goth Kids short. I thought that was
Dream
fun.
Kill.
Yes, Dream Kill. I got into that one. It hinges largely on Freddie Rodriguez, who was playing the cop that was figuring out all this stuff, which Freddie Rodriguez you probably recognize if you looked him up on IMDb. He does a lot of voice work, but he's been in a lot of good stuff too. I think he was in the HBO show about the funeral home.
6 Feet Under.
Yes. He was the helper in the basement there at the funeral home. That's where I knew him from, and I've always enjoyed him. And I kept looking at this guy thinking, that looks like Freddie Rodriguez. And I finally went and looked it up this morning. I'm like, oh, cool, it was him. So I really like that one, and I like the way it played out. I thought it was a fun story. Overall, it's not going to make my top 10, but I'm really glad we ended up watching this because I would have skipped it otherwise.
You're welcome, buddy, for vetting it and recommending that we do it. Rachel, go.
Yeah, I mean, I think like all of you guys, I go into these VHS films with some degree of skepticism. The early ones are pretty strong. We all know Safe Haven is the peak of the franchise. I will not hear otherwise. And so like
Is that
that's enough.
Ratma? No, Safe
No.
Haven is the older one from like 2 or 3
The
with
cult
the school.
one?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
I will not argue that.
excellent. Yeah,
It is excellent.
Totally agree.
And I think it has engendered so much goodwill that I just keep coming back. The only one I haven't seen is 99, just because everybody was like, oof, it is bad.
I
which
did
is a
see the
bummer.
Ratma one. Was that 99? Which one
That
was
was
that?
94.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think I only saw like the first half, and I was like, nope.
It's not the strongest of the entries. So I went into this with some skepticism. That, and like, to be honest, I'm kind of over the 80s throwback trope. I feel like it's really run its course. However, I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised by this. I don't know if it's because of the caliber of directors this time. I don't know why this one just feels a little bit more solid. I think maybe it's because it goes places. They're going for it. It's mean, it's nasty, in ways that really worked for me. I also think that the 80s shtick was not so like poppy, but much more grounded in people actually looking like they were from the 80s, like even the talking heads. And there was like this verisimilitude to it that worked for me. And I do think that like sort of cosmic, lightly apocalyptic horror fits in 1985. Because like I said, Reagan era, which to me feels pretty cosmic horror and apocalyptic.
Hey, Rachel.
Yes.
I've heard that word before. I don't know what it means. Could you tell me what
Verisimilitude?
verisimilitude means?
Like a sense of realism and accuracy.
Oh,
That's
okay.
probably the best way I would say. I don't know. John, back me up.
That
You're the
works.
man of
That
words.
works for me. No, that's good. That was good.
All right. Thank you. I learned something here tonight. John, what'd you think, buddy? How you doing over there?
I was nervous, and Eric, he did pre-screen this and sort of. That's
Enough.
not always a
Yeah.
guarantee for me. It's not always a guarantee. Let's just put it that way.
Dude, and I only watched the first one. It could have gone way off the rails, but I was like,
Yeah.
you didn't see last year's? Last
No.
year's was like an embarrassment. And I knew right
Yeah.
away watching this one, I was like, all right, I think we're doing better here. We've
I
righted
mean-
the track here.
I didn't like research it at all beforehand, but like having now gone and looked and like kind of dug in on the directors, like they're good directors. Like these are all people who have done real stuff, like stuff we've watched, stuff that I liked, so I do think that was probably part, although I don't know, like I didn't look at the previous ones, but I don't know. For whatever reason, it worked okay for me. I think it's pretty uneven. My issues with found footage as a filmmaking crutch / visual mechanic. I don't like I sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't for me, you know, and so this it's fine.
Right.
Like
It doesn't quite speak to you the same way it speaks to me. So like you got a little higher bar, I feel like, than I do.
The thing though that I do like is that when one of the segments isn't working, you know it's going to be over pretty soon.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, and anthologies in general, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would say I'm trying to think in what order. The one, if I had to pick one that was my favorite, I don't. So here's the thing I would say, because I do think they all have sort of the same problem, which is like they're a little too long. I would have made each, like, I think you could have really trimmed a bunch of these. The first one, the No Wake one, you spend so much time with them and this guy who's like carrying around this like clunky camera, and some of it's just sort of, maybe it's like supposed to be 1985 sort of scene setting because it is that first one.
You're talking about that's the boat.
Yeah, they're like you're like with them in the car. It's
Honestly,
like
I
you're
would say
meeting these characters that don't mean anything.
I would say several of them are like a little shaggy in the beginning.
Well, that's yeah. That's exactly the point. Like I feel like you could have cut the first
I
2
get the
minutes
need
off
to
of almost every one of them.
I get the need to scene set, but like you wanted to feel a little bit of momentum.
It's a bit much, yeah, on some of these. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like
Rachel disagrees.
I didn't.
I mean, I
hate
feel
it.
like we're gonna circle back to that story, and you kind of have to invest in them a little bit more than you would the other characters. Because
Well,
we
you don't know
return
that
to
too
them.
at the time, but yeah.
Yeah.
But even when you return, like we don't see them really.
It has
again.
nothing to do with them. When
You
you
just,
return,
like-
yeah.
I also think when the thing happens, it's much more of a gut punch because you spent a little time with these.
Well, right. There's a
people.
little, there's a little bit of pacing of like you're waiting, and they all actually kind of do that in a way of like set up a nice little Hitchcockian bomb under the table, even if you don't
Yeah.
know what it's gonna be, and like
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little more clever this year with that stuff.
I felt the same way about the Mexico City earthquake one. In
Too long,
retrospect,
too
like,
long in the earthquake part. Yeah.
you also spend so much time with the like newswoman.
See, I like that. I enjoyed that.
I mean, it's like it's fine.
I would've
as sort
kept
of like
all
slice
that.
of life, but
I would have kept all that and chopped like a good part of that earthquake part.
Yeah, well,
because it had lost me, and then I was like, oh shit, okay. Like then
Yeah.
it comes back around, and it's like,
well, because so much of it, and this is another like found footage trope that drives me nuts, is like climbing around in the dark. They're
Yeah.
pointing the camera at shit that you can't see anything, and it's just very disorienting. Like, whatever, you're right. Like that part, but to me, it's like, why are we spending so much time with that?
I
news
wish I was
anchor?
smart enough to have known that there was like a big 1985 earthquake, because that might have.
I knew there was.
kept
I just.
me in
I
a little
mean,
more.
I didn't know that there was like exactly the same.
I was
that
3, John. Give me a break.
Yeah. Well, history of Mexico and so on and so forth. I was in Mexico this year, so that's maybe I heard about
La
it.
di da, John. Yeah, is that it, John? Sorry, I don't know. I'm just raring to go.
I
tonight.
could keep rambling, but you can go.
Man, maybe I was helped by watching last year's, but this thing is so much better. Like, really, the only one I would get rid of is the Techno God one. And it's kind of a shame because I actually, like, in the first 5 minutes, I like that actress. And she's got, like, a thing. And there's something interesting about the setup. It's unique and different. But, like, like, where it goes in the end just, like, doesn't do it for me. But overall, like, this unsolved mysteries thing with this morphing life form thing is like one of my favorite found footage things I've seen in years. Like it is this, and it speaks to like the last couple of years of VHS have really just felt like we just like bought a bunch of short movies and then threw a VHS filter over it. None of them felt like they even needed to be like found footage. None of them felt like they weren't playing with the idea of, because like this movie, almost every segment here sort of, and maybe it's easier to do when it's set in the 80s, but I'm trying to think how to say this. Like it's amused by the idea of VHS and media, like where people were at the time, how kind of like culturally changing it was for VHS. Like people kind of forget before beta, VHS, Laserdisc, like you saw a movie when it was in the theater and then you maybe never saw it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless you happened to catch a coming through a revival or whatever. That's that's so almost unfathomable to think about for people of our generation. And it really was like a huge cultural thing. You know what it was like all of these people who made these shorts have seen Videodrome. And I'm not saying this is as good as Videodrome, but it's sort of navel gazy about the technology. That's what I want. Like I want the navel gazing about VHS and analog video and like video culture and all the shit. And they really hit that here, which I'm like all on board for. And this like Unsolved Mysteries thing is so pitch perfect in that it feels so authentic, but it's also just over the edge into like it's more of itself than the original thing, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like how we look back at the 70s and we just think everybody was a hippie. Like that's not like, you know, I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, but I just loved it. And it's creepy. That guy is creepy. I kept thinking I want a whole movie of this.
The presenter guy or Rory?
Well, he's great, but no, the weird pupa life form thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of kept thinking like I could watch an entire movie of this. I don't know if you remember something was reminding me of Ghost Watch this evening. And then after we did Ghost Watch, let's found
You
footage.
get reminded of Ghost Watch.
It's this time of year.
You know, three times a day.
After we reviewed Ghost Watch, I went on this bender of like I discovered like there were all these made for TV movies that pretended to be real in the 80s and 90s. There was like 4 or 5 of them. Some of them were American TV, some like other places. And I watched all of them and it is like, I love it so much, John. Like I love it so much. Some of them even like one of them started, there was one, I think it aired on CBS. That was like a fake documentary but it was like real CBS news. And they're like, an asteroid is going to destroy Earth. And it's just like a requiem for Earth for 2 hours. But it starts out as a fake Sunday night movie.
That's
and
awesome.
You watch like 8 minutes of the movie and then they interrupt and cut in. It's fucking brilliant.
That's
so
real
good.
crazy.
So they're like, man, this stuff tickles me. I have such a soft spot for it. And it's hard to, I recognize like it's hard to replicate. So when I see somebody do it this lovingly, like in this wraparound thing, it speaks to my heart. So I really enjoyed that. I was like, I want to see a whole movie of this, although I think it's probably really helped by the interstitial nature of it and that they keep kind of cutting away and leaving some mystery there. So maybe like a full thing. It's like too much, but
I mean,
that's
it would
great.
Not be the first time. There's actually 2 movies that have spun out of previous VHS.
Okay.
things.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the boat thing is a nice little intro, although like, I don't really get it, but it's suspenseful when they start getting shot. Like that part is great. The whole like water, all that shit. The way it ends is like okay, but then I thought it was really neat that it loops around in the like. I don't think they've ever done that where it's not a wraparound. It's kind of just 2 different segments that like.
Yeah, because they've got what 2 segments in between them, right?
Yeah, that felt really creative. I could have used more of that crazy family, like more lore there, honestly, but it was a lot of fun.
More of the guy with the bullet.
I love the police, the like prowler thing with that's great. That first segment where you're hearing the 911 call and as you're seeing him stalk from the other perspective. I mean, that's just another like really creative way to do that. I don't think I understood it. I was a little distracted. Like, where's that camera coming from? Is there some kind of supernatural thing happening? Like, I lost that thread hardcore by the end of it.
That's part
of
it.
Okay, I'm not the only one because I was distracted and I like wasn't sure.
Yeah, that one was
explain it, but it's not the best explanation.
Yeah.
Can you explain it to me right now?
That one was the most hand wavy about found footage stuff.
Rachel, explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so what we learn is that he has this ability to like have prophetic dreams, and his dad had bought a.
So we were seeing his dreams.
Yes.
Okay.
which he had started like recording TV at night. He was like recording horror things on TV at night, and
And
while
they were
he was
recording onto his
sleeping,
VHS.
Yeah.
correct.
Missed
So then he
that?
went back
Okay.
to watch them and was like, "These are gonna happen, so I'm gonna turn."
That
them
is
into
a little
movies."
hand wavy, but that's kind of cool. I get it.
I mean,
but it's
fine.
cool.
the
It's just
beauty of a
visually,
short. You don't have to
Yeah.
fix sense.
it's visually fun and creative, and just generally, like this year in general, as it kind of seems like they're turning it into a yearly thing. I just think they put a little more thought into it and a little more creativity, which is what you want to like. You want to see people having fun with found footage and trying new things because there's endless stuff you can do that. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I really like that scene, though, in that dream kill sequence, too. I like the fact that, because that short, to me, it felt like Freddy Rodriguez was going to be the main focus. Even when they found, what was the kid's name? Kevin? I think, or I don't remember. The goth
something
kid.
like that.
But
Yeah.
even when they brought him at first, it still felt like Freddy Rodriguez is going to be the main focus to figure this out. So then when all of a sudden he's no longer involved, it's like, oh shit, you got me. It was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
The son was named Gunther. It was
Oh, yeah, that's right,
Gunther, and then
Gunther.
the dad is
Of course.
Bobby. Yeah,
I mean,
Gunther.
with that hair, he had to be a
That-
Gunther.
in 1985, very
The
common.
goth kid was Gunther.
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
He's played by the director's son, Dashiell.
Oh.
Like-
Yeah.
Yeah, that one like actually rattled me. 'cause
Fun
it was
fact.
so gruesome.
Fun fact:
Yeah.
Dashiell's the modern version of Gunther, so that works out.
Right.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
That you're right that Rachel, that segment in particular was super
The eye,
gory.
man,
I was
the eye.
surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's like grown up in the hunting grounds of the Night Stalker and the Golden State Killer, like any home like invasion thing really freaks me out. And I made the mistake recently of going on Nextdoor. Do not recommend, because what
No.
you may find is that
Uh-oh.
everyone in your neighborhood is talking about the prowler that is in their backyard.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We now
Yikes.
have cameras.
Good idea. Good idea. It's cool. What I like about, in particular, that open with the 911 call, it reminds me of the finale of Blair Witch. So like, there's a cool kind of like audio thing in Blair Witch where only one of their cameras records audio, and that's the videotape. So anytime they cut to the 16, I've seen this movie a few times, John. He's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Anytime you cut to the 16 millimeter, you're hearing the audio from like a different spatial place. And it's just a cool, like disorienting thing that they really used to great effect in the finale. And that kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah.
I like movies, John. I'm sorry.
You like found footage movies more than most people like anything. So,
Are you jealous,
Yeah.
John, of the joy that it brings me?
no, it's fine. I'm not. It's fine. I'm glad that it brings you joy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you all are making me feel like I was too much of a stick in the mud for most of these. I just like sometimes I just like can't get over the hump on them. To me, Dream Kill, the thing that, I'll tell you, the thing that kind of made me the craziest is when it starts like switching in between like multiple camera perspectives. So it's like, oh, we need a shot of the cop making a phone call. Like there's a lot of like exposition that they need, but the only way they can get it is like, oh yeah, there's a security camera that's like in the cops
Right,
room
so I
that
don't
we're just,
know
like
if
showing
they-
you that now.
I don't
It's
know
like,
if
what?
they had already explained all of what Rachel just explained to me at that
No, well,
point when that
that's-
kid is in the interrogation room. But that was a scene that went off the rails for me a little bit. I was like,
The
what am I
kid
watching right
explains it in that scene.
Right,
The
right.
kid is the one
Yeah.
who explains it to them. And it's sort of the same way I felt about the Techno God, which I actually liked. I mean, it's also probably the shortest, I think, of them.
now? It didn't feel like it to me.
But the thing that kind of got distracting for me with it was that it kept jumping around. It was like they had like 6 cameras in this theater, and I'm like, but Rachel,
And
is
they
it
had
found
the
footage?
kid-
Well, my
Is it
thing
They
found
had the
footage?
cameraman in the shot.
Yeah,
That's
mean-
what got me.
yeah.
I mean, they also applauded at the end when she had been like torn apart. So and they
Yeah.
had set up all those cameras for the performance. I could see how that one would get edited
I just-
together, and it all is getting put into this larger VHS thing. So like,
I think
don't
for
know.
me, it hinges on the big bad in that one though, and it's not very compelling. It just is like,
Oh,
all right.
Well,
Like I wish it would have
liked-
killed more people or looked cooler or done something. Like it was
Right.
just like
I
for the-
like the
for the
effect when
weight-
she starts getting picked up and tossed around and stuff.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
fine.
That
I'll
whole last
tell you my
shot when
favorite
they-
part.
Go ahead.
She puts on her 80s virtue gloves, which like all that set design stuff was great. Actually, my favorite part is the like news clip she plays with the guy who's like
Yeah.
explaining the glove. Again, like this is what I love when somebody lovingly recreates some 80s bullshit, and that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
But I love they're called iPhones.
Yeah,
Because
iPhone-
like
that was-
headphones, that's
yeah,
fucking
iPhones.
brilliant. That is
Yeah,
so
that
good.
was it was cute.
And he kept every time he said it, it got funny. Like my
I mean,
eyes-
that was definitely intentional.
So that part was great, but then she like in her performance, she pulls on the like virtue glove thing and she hits a little button and it makes the best 80s sci-fi powering on sound. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for specifically.
Yeah, I don't know. As a fan of cyberpunk and a not fan of black box theater, I liked this segment. I really liked the design of the sort of techno god that it looked so like Tron, Johnny Mnemonic. Like I don't know. I appreciated the design.
She
of the
also
goddess when she
says-
showed up.
Virtuosity, you remember Virtuosity?
Yeah.
He also says Black Mirror, and I know that's like was already a thing before the show, but like that felt like a knowing kind of nod too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
I believe so.
I like her
I
though.
just
Like I like the setup. It just didn't come together for me. super
Yeah,
well.
to me, the payoff though was at the end when the cameraman goes up and flips up her visor, and you get the close up of the makeup. They did such a great job. It looked practical,
Okay.
and it looked like something like it reminded me of like a Mars Attacks type style.
The face was awesome. I will
Yeah.
give you that.
Yeah.
Well, I would say because a lot of the segments, I mean, Rachel, you talked about in Dreamkill some of the gore there, but that first one where the people are getting shot, but then also staying alive, the woman who stands up in her, first of all, you see her get
Dude.
shot and her like
Dude.
jaw explodes, and then because she's got the like lake water all over her, she stands up and her jaw's just like hanging off, and she's
Yeah.
trying to hold it on, and like it was well done. Like that stuff was solid.
I guess
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean-
I don't know what it is about that. Like I want more of a little more lore there or like a
Well,
reason.
so-
Like it's just kind of silly.
There's no plot to that the no
Right.
wake thing. It's just like
Right.
they go jet skiing,
Like
not skiing,
he
like,
finds that sign. Does that
whatever the hell
even
it's called.
like
Well, the
even or
sign-
something? Like what?
The sign was no swimming, I thought, right?
Well, and
Or
it
was-
says no wake. One of
Yeah.
There's like multiple signs. I don't. Yeah. I guess we never.
I
did
saw the
circle
one
back to
sign
what
that was like
is.
Lake Evid or something. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
this one, I understand where you're coming from, and to me, the fact that it ties up with Ambrosia later, I'm okay with it. But yeah, there is no resolution whatsoever on what's going on with the water and why they're still alive.
But
they
to
don't
me,
really
it's
do anything
also
with it.
the most like if you actually just found a piece of found footage, like it wouldn't have a clear narrative. It would just be
Yeah.
some crazy
Yeah.
shit that you
That's
saw.
fair.
And I thought maybe like narratively it's not the strongest, but in terms of impact, that thing. Like with that whole scene when the shooting is happening
Yeah.
and they're trapped in the boat and you know
That's a
that
good
they're
setup.
doomed.
It's a good
Yeah.
It's
setup.
also such a good like like I don't know about you guys, but when he found the signs when we're at the lake, I'm like, ooh, Creepshow 2 vibes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so for it to be a total flip and have it just be this like
Right.
you know,
And it's a
shooter-
setup that specifically is tension filled because of the found footage thing. Like it is like Shaggy, but I do like the cadence of they're in the boat and like you're just waiting and then you kind of know something's about to happen, but you just there's no way you predict what happens before it does.
Yeah.
And I felt pretty invested in Robin by the end. Like when she was like, "Oh no, we're gonna go find these people." I was like, "Yeah, get him, Robin."
Yeah. Well, it was a nice change up too. That their friends that stayed back on shore were dead and they weren't coming back.
Right.
That was usually it's all or none in these type
Yeah.
of movies. So it was a nice little switch.
Right, like someone gets in the water, you're like, mistake, cabin fever, here we go, and then to
Yeah.
have it be flipped on its head, I thought
Yeah,
was great.
it's
But
the
then
opposite.
also to weaponize it against the girl at the end, where she's like trying to end her life, and instead she's just blowing her head off, is excellent.
That
Good
sequence
stuff.
where she tries to kill herself and then the cops come in and get her. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a little like Ambrosia hinges, at least narratively, on the fact that they give this gun to a kid, and they're just like, I don't know, this is gonna work out. You know, it's a little whatever. It is fine. I also wasn't clear on how they found her. Like, how did they know? Where was there some hint of like how they knew where she was?
Her license plate was on the video.
Oh yeah, they do say that. You're right. Now that you say, okay,
That's where it cuts off, isn't it? And
yeah, that's like,
their
one of the last thing. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. We just get that tiny little flashback at the end of them filling the water gun.
But still, they're out in the woods at a lake in the middle of nowhere. Who do they know at the police department that's going to run plates for them, right?
I mean, it was the 80s. They probably just went and looked it up in the library or something.
I assume they drove around and they were just like, oh, she couldn't. It had to be close, and
Yeah.
I don't know, but
No, but like thinking of it like Rachel was saying, that if you're picked up a found VHS and you're playing through it and random stuff and the narrative's not there, that makes those two stand out to me a little more. It's kind of nice because you get that continuation, but also you have nothing but questions left.
no, I'm sold. That is,
Yeah.
I like that point.
Well, no, I'm
Yeah.
thinking too, it might make it a good candidate for eventually, you know, if a lot of people are into it, be a good candidate for a spinoff.
Yeah,
But
I
it
don't know. I would like
works.
to see Gigi Saw Gerrera she has this amazing talent in her films. I don't know how many of her films you've seen, but where she like takes like modern settings and blends it with Hispanic and like Mexican folklore. She just did this with Satanic Hispanics as well to really great effect. And so I don't know. It becomes folklore, but it feels fresh because it's like a different sort of mythology. And I always find myself after watching something she's done, going on Wikipedia and learning some new shit, as I did with this one as well.
She's in it too.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
the sort of cub reporter at the beginning. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I liked the end of to me that was like the most fun ending. It was that segment. It's like how I want my horror shorts to go. Like I want them to have this big expansive
And in chaos.
moment. Yeah.
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 It is the moment where you're like, oh, this wasn't going anywhere, which is fine. But like, it just went to tentacles and death. A little, almost like Cabin in the Woods esque of like a monster running amok in like this like research setting. That's a stretch, but
I loved this with when Rory first started morphing and they got all excited, and I think the assistant's name was Aaron, the Asian guy that was there with him, and he started turning into his face, and he's just like, no.
that's really funny and actually, but like kind of creepy when they're like, he's never seen him before, so like,
Right.
super like. That was a nice, effective little moment. There is a really funny moment in like the most grim of them, the earthquake one, where the guy farts in the other guy's face, and I was like, "That's just good comedy. Like that's just funny." And then, like 2 seconds later, something horrific happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, VHS, okay, go on."
It's like, why not a fart joke?
I respect it.
I mean, the funniest bit might have been the very last shot with Rory, where it's, so like, I mean, I guess we'll just come full circle. And I can spoil this.
Yeah, please explain it.
Well, so throughout the Rory thing, they keep showing that, or they're explaining in the Unsolved Mysteries thing that they're trying to expose him to modern culture, and they think that's going to be the thing that
To
sort of
help
like
him communicate.
Yeah, that like he breaks through. And one of the things that they keep showing him, or that comes up several times, is this like exercise video where these women in like very small or
one
like
of those
80s
very
looking
stereotypical
leotards.
like 80s like cheesecake like
They're
exercise
doing a
videos,
bridge, like they're doing, and so it's a lot
Love
of
a good
like
bridge jump. Good
hip
for your
hip
pelvic
thrusting.
floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hip thrust. It's your butt. It's your glutes. It works. the
Honestly,
glutes
John,
and-
at this
glutes and
age, we
hamstrings,
could.
so.
At this age, John, we all need to be doing bridges.
Totally, gotta be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they show it so many times, and you're sort of like, what are they doing with this? And literally, the last shot of the movie, after Rory has turned into a tentacle monster and is like attacking everyone, he's pulled their bodies into his like main room, and they sort of like pan the camera around the corner, and he has like two of the bodies doing the bridges. Just I don't know.
With the
Just
spread.
yeah, he's just
Putting
like
them.
the tentacles
Yeah.
are wrapped around them and like animating
yeah.
them and lifting
Yeah,
them
exactly.
up.
Like, it kind of worked. The experiment worked. It didn't work exactly like they expected, but
Yep.
like
Yeah.
trapping him
Yeah.
in like a suburban like
Oh, interesting. Yeah, and, like,
simulation.
I'm down
It
for that kind of wackiness, right? Again, like I
Sure.
just
Yeah.
want it to be a little tied together and thematic, which this one does much better job of.
Yeah. Well, that end shot was perfect for me. It's just like the great joke at the end because I got sucked into the whole wraparound with Rory and stuff too. And then you see all that carnage, and then you get boom, bridges. I let out a out loud.
I mean, here's the thing. I will make the same criticism with the wraparound as I did with the other ones, which is like if you watched Unsolved Mysteries growing up, the segments on Unsolved Mysteries were like 7 to 8 minutes long. This Rory thing is, I don't know. It felt like it was like 25
It's like a 30-minute
minutes.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a proto Dateline. Let's just go with that.
All right.
Yeah.
Fine. Fair enough. Fair enough. But it just like the way it worked the way it was structured because it was chopped up. Ultimately, if you watch that all together, I actually don't think it hangs together quite as well. I think it's like way more boring.
Well, I don't
one
necessarily disagree with you. I think it helps it to be like interstitial in nature.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point of a wraparound, though, is to pad it out,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It didn't need to be like the whole movie's like almost 2 hours long. And you're
Yeah.
like, you could have made
a
this an
little
hour
long.
and 40.
That's fair.
It's a little long. Yeah, I'll agree with that criticism.
But this has more segments than they like. At least one or two more segments than they normally do, don't they? Because usually isn't it like 4 or 5?
The first one was only like 3 with the wraparound. I
Yeah.
think it was like a wraparound and 3. This one did have, I want to say it's like 6 total because it's a wraparound
Yeah.
and then maybe 5 segments.
1, 2, 3, 4.
If you count Ambrosia
Yeah,
and
if
No
you
Wake,
break that up, yeah, it's 5.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're 5. Yeah, so yeah. I don't know. There you
It
go.
was good.
Love it.
It's fine.
John, get excited. This is going on my top 10.
Top 10.
Crack it open!
Oh, yeah, baby. All right, let's take a quick break.
Sick is finally getting bumped off.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Thank God.
no, I think it already. We'll take a look. I'm gonna Google it. My list. I'm gonna go to Yahoo and find my top 10 list while we take this break.
Where is my top 10 list?
All right, let's do some fan mail.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
What is Birth Rebirth? I have it at number 4.
You liked it. It's the one I recommended. It's like the Frankenstein.
The pregnant
Yeah.
lady.
Where they're like harvesting stem cells and
Yes.
keeping
Stem Cell, the
like,
movie.
Stem cell
Got it.
movie.
Got it. Man, it's. I gotta say, in a moment of appreciation, because this has been a year for horror fans. It's been tough. It's nice to just have an unambiguous like this goes on my list. Like I'm not sadly putting this on my list just to have something to put on it, which was like the first half of the year, basically. Okay, here's what I have.
You gotta save
num-
room for Five Nights at Freddy's too, dude. So
I don't know.
just-
Here's what I have. I'm running down the list. Bo is number 1. Bo is Afraid. Megan, Haunting. I love how much it fucking pisses you off.
The
every
Bo
time.
Bo's Afraid is. I'm never letting that go.
Number 3, Haunting in Venice, Birth, Rebirth, Infinity Pool, Last Voyage of the Demeter, Scream 6, Knock at the Cabin, Talk to Me, Evil Dead. This is an easy, just booting Evil Dead off here. I didn't like that very much. I'm gonna put. I'm putting this at 4. That gives us a top
Solid.
5 currently of Bo's Afraid, Megan, Haunting in Venice, VHS 85, and Birth, Rebirth.
And number
Solid.
4 with a bullet.
And next week, if I see the next good thing I see, Talk to Me is out of here. Just get out of town. John, I assume by now you've listened to my new song.
It's on repeat. I'm just trying to rack up your streams. I keep my phone on.
Don't lie to me, John. I know you too well.
I won't lie to you then.
Rachel, where can people find you when you're not on Bloody Good Horror?
Well, unless you're the Prowler, there's lots of places on the internet where you can.
The Prowler has
Rachel.
my address.
Rachel, you sleep with your eyes covered and your ears plugged. How are you going to know when the Prowler's in the house?
By the way, Caitlin yesterday sent me a TikTok of a woman in tears in a doctor's office who had just had an arachnid removed from her, you guessed it, ear. I'm not crazy.
Arachnid.
I mean,
Can
I
you
am
not
crazy,
say
but not
spider?
about this.
Why would Caitlin send that to you? That's kind of
Validation,
cruel.
I think she wanted to validate because you didn't
Yeah.
see the spider, so she was taking care of me, but also validating me because so many people have made fun of me.
Okay.
But
Caitlin's good like that.
she is good like that. She's good like in all the ways. Anyway, you can find me on Zombie Girls Podcast Network. If you want to find me on the social media, you can either find me at ZG Podcasts or at Rage Pants. Those are my two handles.
Love it. You can watch a live stream of this show if you go to patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can get back episodes, early release episodes. That is when I remember to edit them on time, which is like 95% of the time.
I was gonna say last week. I feel like it was kind of an aberration.
First time in a while. Yeah. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. Casey, what is on Threads this week?
Well,
I'm gonna look at her email. I'm not sure. We might have email. Go ahead.
Well, we've got a few threads out there. First one comes from popcorn.designs. As we approach the Day of Days, do you remember your biggest trick-or-treating haul? One year I filled an entire pillowcase. Pretty sure it cost my parents at least 3 fillings the next year.
There was like a couple years where I was allowed to take a pillowcase, and I damn near filled it as well. Those
Yeah,
were,
we
it was
all
like
yeah.
10, 11, 12. That was like the money years where you were in it to like maximize candy.
I think I trick-or-treated until the year I was 15. You know, I had a girlfriend that year, John, so I was distracted. But we would take pillowcases, and my parents would literally help us outfit the shaving cream bottle. Like you stick a pin in the end and melt it around so that then when you shoot it, it goes like 10 feet. Because you create like a smaller hole, right?
Yes.
That's science, John. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
And like we were like getting up to some like shit, but it was mostly we were just messing with each other, and we'd come back, we were covered in, but we were still trick-or-treating, and people were cool. I'm of the like, listen, if teenagers still have enough whimsy in their lives to go trick-or-treating, like give them candy, please. Like
There's
yeah.
way
I
worse
wouldn't.
shit they could be doing on the
it's in-
streets.
Totally.
Let them
Please,
give them
it's
some
in- it's-
candy.
that kind of it's in short supply in this world. That kind of thing.
They could be eating candy or getting finger blasted.
I've-
You choose.
What's the problem with finger blast?
I'm just saying, if you want, your teens, you want them eating Hershey bars, not blasting.
Listen,
Eric,
everyone's got different love languages.
Eric, are you taking the girls? Do you get
Yes,
Halloween?
yeah, I got the girls this year. We're gonna go. My neighborhood. I've talked about my neighbor who's just got the like insane setup. It's like a charity thing. They have a big sign out. They collect money for a children's charity, and that's like why they do it. But they have all of the 15-foot things. They've got one that's a witch that kicks so much ass because basically it's being held up by the broom, so it looks like it's flying, and the broom is just like dragging in the ground. It's like 10 feet in the air.
Nice.
And they had lots of like random skeletons, and they did a really brilliant thing this year, which is instead of just having like 20 random skeletons spread around, they put a kid's costume on each one. So all the skeletons are dressed up. There's
Nice.
there's like a princess skeleton, and like that's pretty brilliant. So yeah, we're gonna go around here for a little bit just because there's some cool houses, and then go trick or treating with their cousins next town over.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good vibe over there. I mean, I live in an area that's like, I actually was thinking, John, I was curious last week what NYC is like, because I live in like the idyllic suburban place to go trick or treating. Like it's like the movies, basically.
I'm sure. I thought I've talked about this on the show. Maybe I haven't. You've got buildings. So like my old building, 35 stories, and basically, if you want to
should
give
brag
out
about it.
candy, I mean, there's like bigger buildings, there's smaller buildings. In that building, you would, if you were going to participate, you had to tell the building, and then what the building did was they typed up a list of every apartment that's participating and like the hours that they're participating. And so then as a parent, you take the list and you're like, okay, we're either going to start at the top or we're going to start at the bottom. You really want to start at the top, and then you work your way down the stairs.
That's really cool. Like I've lived
Also-
in apartments and none of them have ever like done organized trick or treating. You always had to go somewhere.
You get so much fucking candy too, because you're just like, the power
Dude,
of gravity is
The
pulling you down this building.
density of right. My kids have to walk 50 yards or 30 yards to get from house to house, whereas like it's like door to door.
So the neighborhood I'm in now, which is not so far, but like we're in a small building and like no one does trick or treating in our building. So we have to go out on the street. You can either find a friend who lives in a big building, or you go out on the street and there's like brownstone blocks where, it looks like what the Huxtables lived in. I don't know if that's like, I'm like, if people know what a brownstone is. In any event, it's like, they're single family homes, rich people homes, but they're like very close together, and you just go boop, 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 boop. And some of the blocks go hardcore. Like there's a block that's probably like 5 blocks away where the block gets together, shuts down the street, and throws like this huge party with like a DJ. You don't go there to trick or treat. You just go there to like hang out and party, because like it's like it's a zoo. Like there's thousands of people in this block, so it's fun.
How are the open carry laws there, John? Like, can you as a
totally
parent
fine.
just walk around and get hammered on Halloween? That sounds cool.
I mean,
I'm into that.
That is
Dude,
not
you-
what I thought you meant by open carry. I was like, that's terrible.
Oh, open bar.
That's what I thought too.
Sorry. No.
you can open
have
carry actually, but
You have it
cannot,
correct. I meant like open bottle laws. Like
but,
That's why when Schnars respond with, "Oh yeah, no, would dig it."
I
I was like, "Whoa!"
I knew exactly what he was talking about.
now I want to go back and watch the video and watch Rachel's journey of like hearing what I was saying. Sorry. Cool.
All right. Next up, we have Well-Adjusted Podcast. Favorite movie from 1985.
Man, I gotta get
okay.
these in advance.
Sorry,
I got it.
I did look it up. Mine's easy.
Oh, mine's
Back
easy
to the
too.
Future.
Okay, here's what we got. I'll rattle them off.
Oh, not just horror movies.
First one I see on Google.
He didn't specify.
I mean, let's say horror movies, Casey.
What?
Day of the
Not
Dead.
Return of
to
the
the
Living
Future.
Dead.
Oh shit! It's Return of the Living Dead. Yeah.
It's
Man.
yeah, I don't even need to
Okay, but
look.
listen to this though. Okay,
Close tab.
this is wild. Like when
Freddy's
people talk about
Revenge.
when people talk about 80s and horror, this shit is insane. Day of the Dead, Silver Bullet, Cat's Eye, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which okay, not at the time, but it's been revived. Creepers, Argento, which is now known as Phenomena. House, Fright Night, Friday Part 5, The Stuff, Demons,
Ghoulies.
Ghoulies, love it. Life Force, Legend. Okay, this isn't kind of horror. Legend, horror fantasy. Return of the Living Dead, Reanimator, Return
shit.
to Oz.
Oh, okay.
Jesus
Maybe I need
Christ.
to change my answer.
Let's see. I guess that's like the big ends. I'm going. Yeah, now it's just a bunch of stuff I haven't heard of. But man, that is an insane list. So
I love
what
a
are our
children's movie that
favorites?
starts with electroshock therapy.
I have
That's
to go
family
with-
friendly.
I have to go Return of the Living Dead because it's just such a
Yeah.
favorite of mine.
Yeah.
But Day of the,
Silver
any
Bullet
other
is
year,
not good in my opinion. Just for the record.
any other year would have been Day of the Dead.
Fright
what is
Night
it
might
again?
be up there for me.
Silver Bullet.
John, what about
Fright
the
Night is
Jim-
great.
John, what about the Jim Carrey vampire comedy Once Bitten? What do you think about that?
I think I have seen that, but that used to be like an
vampire-
HBO thing. I feel
A
like they used to
vampire
run it.
countess needs to drink the blood of a virgin in order to keep her eternal beauty. It seems that all is hopeless until she bumps into Mark. That was definitely a like late night cable
Yeah.
Lauren
Yeah,
Hutton.
it was a little racy.
Of course it was.
Those were the best late night cable movies, Casey.
Oh, I know.
Bring back racy. That's such a great description. I feel like we don't ever
Yeah.
use that
Oh, it's
anymore.
racy, yeah, because it's so
Racy.
because
Oh,
it's weirdly pure
Yeah.
for a culture where porn is at your fingertips 24/7. Like to say racy is like, what do you like? Little House on the Prairie over here.
Well, that was my mom's.
But I'm with you. I really like it. I think we should.
That was my mom's go-to phrase in '85. You know, you
Yeah.
can't watch that. That's too racy.
Yeah, 100%. I think the last
All right.
person I heard say it was probably my mom.
It's official. We're bringing it back. Hashtag racy. Is that it?
Yeah, no, there's more actually. Sorry, we've been getting into these, so I lost track. Roger.Lee asks, scariest characteristic of horror fans. They enjoy violent films, or they'll continue to watch new entries in garbage film series.
You could have asked that of the Saw 10.
Yeah.
You know, V8. This one, I will agree that it does feel like a bit of better, of a return.
Yeah.
So
You heard it here first, folks. John says he loves it.
All right.
Number one spot.
I'm holding it just to be safe.
I think I know one answer for certain and a maybe for somebody else on the show. But the drummer from Foghat says, do any of you still have or use a VCR?
Yeah, it's right over here behind me in this TV. I have
Eric
two
was the one
VCRs,
I was
actually.
certain of.
I don't actually use it, but I need to. It's like I gotta with this new. I got a couch. I need to rearrange a little bit. I think I'm actually gonna hook it up so I can just like pop stuff on.
Yeah.
I do
Eric's-
not.
Kicking around.
I was gonna say Eric's the one I was certain of. Rachel was the maybe.
I have that, and so when we moved, obviously I found a lot of shit in a lot of the back of closets, and I have a VHS, I have a DVD player, and I have a Laserdisc player and a bunch of Laserdiscs. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Like, given just how into like physical media I am, until I was like in my mid 20s, I did not know that Laserdisc players were anything other than something my 5th grade science teacher had that would like put videos on for. I did not know movies were released on it. I didn't know it was like a popular media thing. Well, like it wasn't around that long, but
Yeah.
fascinating.
It's one of the many formats we own RoboCop on.
Like they're actually technically higher res than DVDs because they're actually like weirdly analog.
Well, they're also 8 times bigger than a DVD physically.
Bro,
so-
I would be so
Such a
happy if we
size
just still
queen.
use that now, like Laserdisc. Yeah, John, that's always what I'm saying.
I've
about you.
never been accused of that before, but it might be true.
bragging about how many stories your building is.
I see a pattern.
Just saying.
Last question here from the Dark Hours, and I think this is a fair question to ask because I don't think any of us specified in the content part of the show. Which VHS segment is your favorite?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Wait,
I mean,
in this one or
Well, I don't know. They did
No,
just
let's
say
say all of
VHS. Yeah, all of them.
I have a real soft spot for that alien abduction one with the kids,
That's where I was gonna go.
which I think was the last one of part two, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just don't like
I
the
mean-
part at the end with the dog.
It
me
doesn't
out.
phase me.
I do
not
think
a real
Safe
dog
Haven
ritual.
is the
Safe
best.
Haven. It's the best.
It's
It
so
is,
crazy.
yeah. I like that
Well,
one. too.
Timo is
Dude, the first
Crazy.
one comes so hot out of the gate though, with the girl at the bar that turns into the monster.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Amateur night. Yeah.
And I always like. There's this one weird one that I love that I think was in Viral, that was done I think by Nacho, that guy, right? Vigilante. Where the guy is experimenting, trying to create a dimension to like another universe, and he goes into a bizarre,
Yes.
like bizarro universe where everything is evil, but it's his life, but it's like demonic. That is probably one of the most creative things they've ever
Isn't
done,
there
honestly.
like a weird dick thing in that one, or am
Something
are
like
we
that. Like his
delving
wife
into
is
my
like
psyche?
his wife is some
I'll
kind of
ask
like
John.
weird
John
sex
will know.
demon.
I don't
He's got
remember
it.
that, but
He's got it clocked. He's like, wait. Let me refer to my notes.
this guy likes a dick thing. Which one do you think that is?
I know what you're talking about. It's in. I didn't remember which one it was in, but now that you're saying it, the thing I remembered from Viral was the skater skeleton one, but I forgot. How did I forget about the dick one?
I don't remember anything from Viral.
I'm
Which
pretty
I
sure that one
apparently
I'm
saw.
talking about is in that, but it's for okay. I need to stop just saying random names of people and just see who directed it.
There is one in Viral by Nacho Vigalondo.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I was right. Didn't he do Time Crimes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Los Cronos
Crimes.
Criminals.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Like I'm Duolingo over here.
Goddamn right. I took Spanish 1 through 3 in high school. You're welcome.
Oh yeah, there is. I'm just like reading the Wikipedia description, and there's
Okay.
demonic vagina is one of it. That is a phrase there. Place.
I
of
just remember it
penis,
being, like,
and He has a
extremely-
fanged creature in the place of his penis.
I remember
There
just
is
being.
so there is dick stuff. It turns out.
I remember
Rachel,
it being
confirmed.
extremely. It's just so good because like he goes into the evil dimension and his wife is
re-
evil, and then the
I am
evil version
vaguely
of him goes into his dimension with his wife.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just-
I'm
it's
remembering
brilliant.
this now.
Yeah, worst
Okay.
key party ever.
Not great. Not great. Casey, are you ready for me?
Yes.
Okay.
We're ready for you.
X, with 3 out of 5 decent/good segments and an enjoyable wraparound for VHS, in my opinion. That's not a question, sir. How many good segments does an anthology film in general need to get right for the BGH crew to give it a seal of approval? Half? One great one and a solid wraparound? I think you do yourself a favor by having a good spread of like 5-ish. Because to your point, John, if you only have 3 and one is bad, you're spending a third of the movie waiting for it to be over. So like you don't want too many because I think ABC's of Death is gimmicky, but I don't want to watch that, honestly. 5 to 6 at max. And how many will total? And like with that spread, you can get, I'll give you 2 clunkers, but like that's it. You got to have more of good. And you got to, I always say this with Creep Show. The key is to start strong and end strong. And like Creep Show is the best segment is like second to last. And then the last one with the bugs is like, this is like cool. But it's just a nice little, denouement, and then you're out. And
Yeah, that math checks out for me.
I have thoughts.
Sure do.
Sometimes you guys just look at me and I'm like, did that make any sense what I just said?
That's yeah.
I'm just
All
over
right.
here impressed that you used that fancy word.
Denouement.
I'm positive I learned that. No, here's what I learned that from Clerks because it's on one of the title cards, and then I learned how to say it from Mr. John Schnars over here. So there you go. All right. If you found an unmarked mystery VHS tape, how much trouble would you put into playing it? I mean,
Now, none.
when I'm thrifting, I look for VHS tapes that like just have handwriting on them because I really enjoy
you?
it. Oh yeah, yeah.
Dangerous.
If I found one, I would
love it.
send it to Eric and be like, "Yo, bro, tell me if anything funny's on this."
When I was
Tell me
this
if you
is
get
kinda like-
cursed.
this is like kind of adorable, but when I was a kid, I had bad handwriting, so I'd tape like Halloween 2 or whatever off of TV, and I'd make my mom write the labels for me,
Cute.
so it's all like my mom's handwriting.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the analog of when strangers try to airdrop you things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never,
Which happened
that
to
has
me at the
never
Vegas
happened to me.
airport. Oh God, it happens to me all the time. Like I recently was at the Vegas airport and someone named Nice kept trying to airdrop me. I'm
Really?
sure his dick. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
obviously.
Yeah.
Why would like?
I don't know that I've had that happen either, but well,
Unexpected
obviously, there's a
theme
big
for-
difference.
Unexpected theme for this evening show.
Huh?
Well, I got to class up the joint.
Is it a
When I-
setting? Like,
okay.
can you tell people that you want to be like
You can
I
move
have to-
yourself.
okay.
visible
I
publicly?
need to
or
change
Out of
my
it.
settings. I need to. Change
I have
my
to tell a
settings.
story
maybe
because
that's-
it's related. So last year when I got this tattoo, I get it and we're done, and the artist takes a picture and I'm like, oh, can you send that to me? And there's bad reception at this place, so she's like, oh, I'll airdrop it to you. So she's staring at her phone, and she's staring at her phone for like, I'm just trying to occupy myself, whatever. I'm looking around, and it starts to feel like an uncomfortable amount of time that she's looking at her phone. And then she like so like meekly goes, "Is this you?" And she holds her phone out. And there is a phone named something that I will tell you guys off air and I will not say in the show. And I was like, no. I was like, no. Like, and I just started all like awkward laughing. And then the owner of the shop from like 10 feet away goes, "Oh, yeah, that's me." He's like, we used to have a Bluetooth speaker that would say the name of your phone when you connected to it. And I thought it was funny. And I'm like, well, that's very professional, sir.
Oh man.
So, yeah. And it is related to the theme of the night, but I'm not going to say.
Yes.
All right, one more, and I love this one. Schnecky91. What VHS did you rent the most from your local video store? I rented Trick or Treat with Ozzy Osbourne at least a dozen times.
Oh, such a good answer.
So I was wearing out, I mean, it's me. I was wearing out Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, like all that shit. But I also pride myself in, I'm positive, being the person who rented the Langoliers out from this one specific video store more times than anyone. I actually bought a copy of it recently from listeners of the show. Darcy and Mike, who are married, like they're a couple, and they were selling VHS. And I'm like, "Oh, dude, I gotta buy this Langoliers from you."
That is amazing. I think Beetlejuice, maybe? I rented that a lot.
Nice.
I think I used to get Something Wicked This Way Comes from the library a lot.
Oh, yeah. You introduced us to that one.
Yeah.
I had this amazing place. It was a mom and pop place. It's been a million things since it went out of business. Like it was a Curves for a while. Remember Curves, the lady gyms? But anyway, they had a 5 for 5 for 5 thing. You could rent for the older movies, 5 movies for 5 days for $5. And so like I'd go in there on a Friday, like when my parents take me when I was a kid, and I just stocked up for the weekend. It was the best.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what my answer would be. Maybe like Jurassic Park or something. Like the thing was, what we would do is we would rent something once, and then my buddy who had 2 VCRs, we would just copy. If it was something we wanted to watch
That's
a lot,
the one.
we would just copy it.
Yeah.
And so like we had so many things.
I never did that, which is crazy because when I got Netflix for the first time and they were sending me DVDs,
Yeah, ripping DVDs like crazy.
I just last night accidentally dropped a tote thing with like 300 DVDs in slipcases in it, and I still haven't cleaned it up.
No.
But it's like 90% from Netflix.
Yeah, I totally did the VCR to VCR thing. It's how I ended up with a I think probably my mom wrote on it, I don't know, copy of Maximum Overdrive that I watched a lot.
You had to do something, right? You had to put a piece of tape over the like negative, the hole that's on the
Yes.
one,
Yep.
right? Because that was how
they
if the thing could go in, it wouldn't let you copy.
Yeah.
Foolproof.
Yeah.
These weren't from they may have been from Netflix because I didn't always do DVD to DVD, but I've just tipped these over this morning.
Love it. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
We've got some
All right.
hardware.
That is it. That is it for Twitter. Let's bang through Instagram quick.
Who were the dead?
Oh, nice. What found footage movie did it the best? John, what's the one that just works for you?
Last Exorcism. Wreck, the original Wreck. Although I think, from what I remember, Quarantine, the remake, was like decent-ish.
I
too.
agree, and no one else seems to agree with me. Rachel literally just made a face when you said it.
Which one? Oh, in Quarantine or Wreck?
I have very strong I'm a big Wreck fan, so I'm just being a hater.
I
Like a
love
purist
Wreck. I mean,
hater.
Wreck is definitely better. It's like obvious to me, and I've said this so many times on the show as we talk about the movies that kind of fall apart are the ones where you say stuff like, why are they still filming? And so like the movies that answer the why are they still filming, and Last Exorcism is like the best at this in some ways, but so is Wreck. Like I don't know, those tend to work. I mean, they have to be scary too. Like all the other stuff has to work, but it can fall apart for me if you're just like, wait a second, just put the fucking camera down, like run away now. Like I don't know.
I feel like Deadstream did a really good job of answering that. Did you guys ever
Yeah.
watch that?
Yeah,
can't
we
remember.
did.
Dude,
I actually texted Schnar these guys when I first watched Deadstream before they watched it. It's like, Schnars, you're gonna actually like this one.
Yeah,
I think
no,
Tilly.
it's
I think
solid.
Tilly might have joined us for that one.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I put a whole list in there, but if I had to it's like Blair Witch, Last Exorcism, for me, Hell House, LLC, just next level. The first one is so good.
Yeah.
In the last year, I saw Horror in the High Desert. Scared me so bad I didn't want to go brush my teeth in the dark. So that one I thought was pretty good. That's my like quick rattle off list. But
This one might be controversial, but I really liked. Was it Grandma's House? The one with
The
the
Visit?
two kids. The Visit. The Visit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Grandma's
that was
house. You just made up a
Remix.
title. You just made up a title that was just describing what the movie is kind of about.
Yeah.
We talked about The Visit last week, I think, didn't we?
Yeah,
did.
but
It came
we
out,
did
yeah.
mention
Did
it
we?
recently.
Why wasn't it last week?
I don't know. So it was
Yeah.
recently.
I would always go with Blair Witch just because Colleen and I got totally swept up in the pre-release hype, and I went so far as to track down a scratchy copy on the internet before it came out in theaters, and we held it together, watched it on the computers. And that first time we watched it, we're like, I don't know if it's real or not. To me, that's like a good sign of perfection.
Did we talk about that Twitter discourse in the show that a couple weeks ago? There was just so much discourse about people being like, you don't understand, like people believe the Blair Witch was real. And I was like, I mean, like I knew a person who did, but it wouldn't have surprised you to find out that she did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people thought War of the Worlds was real too, and they all did fine.
Although
so
to be
who
fair, in
cares?
1996, I wasn't convinced that wrestling was entirely fake. So it was like I get it but like look at what's happening out here. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, planning on watching Hell House Origins Carmichael Manor October 30th on Shudder. I bring this up because one of our fans, Sophie, was the production designer on it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I was talking with her today about it. It's pretty neat.
Do the eyes of the
Oc-
clown follow you in real life? That's what I want to know, Sophie.
that clown is so good.
That clown.
October 30th on Shudder. This is a great, John, I like a good existential question.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one that just makes you stare into the dark recesses of your soul. Do you, and I already know your answer, but I'm curious.
Okay.
I want
Let's
Rachel's
see.
answer on this one. Do you ever worry that starting spooky season too early will have you burned out before Halloween? Rachel. Rachel, let's talk about feelings. I know you love that.
I mean, it's a mistake I make every year. I'm like, this
Yes.
is the year that I'm going to celebrate it right. I'm going to do it. But then I overdo it.
See,
So
I've
then
just
by-
accepted it. Like what I said to him was like, I never worry about it, and I do it the same thing. I do it every year. Like, I'm so jazzed. August 30th.
Yeah.
I'm like ensconced in Halloween, and then by now I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah. And also, like, we produce content and we do, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
it's our
it's
life.
not as
very much.
passive as it once was. So by the end, I'm like, I'm a little
Well,
spookied out.
I love that. It's really funny. I'm nodding my head like, yes, I also create content. I do this every week. You like actually create. You're like an actual content creator. I'm like, yeah, I
Just
know.
don't
What a
call me an
grind.
influencer.
What a great making all this content.
I'll be honest with you, as I get closer to 50, my mental struggle every year for Halloween, and it gets worse every year, is if I put the shit up, I gotta put the shit away. I don't want to.
I know. I'm
You can also just be
struggling.
that spooky house that, like,
Yeah.
nah.
I am struggling with because my kids and I are really enjoying all the neighbors' decorations, and now they're like, we want giant things in the yard, and I'm like, yeah, but do you want clothing and food because they're very expensive? We're learning about money. We're literally we just go to Walmart, and you know what my favorite Halloween decoration is? Friggin' $1 window clings that you get at
Oh,
Walmart.
yeah. Those are good.
Those make me
Yeah.
happy.
I kind of want one of those giant Jack Skellingtons to put in my living room.
Your living room.
I have a high living room.
Yeah, you got a big
No.
ceiling apparently. Okay.
What's stopping you?
Yeah.
Remember that thing you
Does
said?
your-
It's called money.
Does your partner like horror, or is he just the most patient, loving person ever?
Somewhere somewhere in the middle. Listen, two things can be true.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I mean, he puts up with it, but he has his stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. I don't care that much about Bigfoot, but we pretend.
He likes horror, but not likes horror.
Yeah, he's not going steady with it. But, you know. He'll finger
really
blast
funny.
it on Halloween.
Rachel,
Oh my god!
out of pocket.
I
Off the
cannot-
top rope.
Ian,
We're
you're
trying to
too
keep it
long,
above
and this
board.
happens.
I do declare.
Good lord, the vapors over here.
Right?
Blushing. All right. Last question. Let's call it the last question of the evening before Rachel gets us canceled. Which sequence would you replace if we could get an update on what Ratma is up to? I felt like I don't remember what it was, but there was some moment that I was like, oh man, I would love to. I think it was the earthquake one because they were kind of underground. I was like, I would kill to see Ratma just bust out right now.
Well, it's a version of the same story, right?
Yeah,
you know,
they're finding
instead of
Mick-
Ratma,
they-
you've-
Subterranean.
They stumbled into
like,
Micklin.
yeah.
Yeah. What is Ratma up to these days?
I also think that story benefits majorly from being surrounded by like kind of a bunch of crap. Like
definitely.
if that story's in this movie, is it as memorable? Like I think
Does it hold up?
we
is
weren't
creature design.
remembering it for being good. I don't think
It did have
I
good
just-
creature
at least I
design.
was.
and it has that great sequence where like they're staring down the dark hallway, which is just simple, brilliant found footage making. So
Yeah.
Well, to Eric's point, though, that particular one, Ratma was the only good one, so we were pretty jazzed.
yeah, that's right. All right. I know John wants to go to sleep. Don't forget to check us out, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. It's Halloween. Oh, this will be our last episode out before Halloween. So happy Halloween.
Oh shit! Yes.
This is our
Five
time.
Nights at Freddy's, though. Let's go.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. The next time we talk to you, it'll be their time again
Yeah.
for 8
Normies,
months
you
until
mean?
August. Yeah.
The Christmas
John and his
season will have
people.
begun.
Yeah. a former friend of ours, current friend, but former podcaster, already posting about Christmas stuff, if you can imagine. Oh, man. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
See yous.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.